Imagine holding in your hands the key to a life of absolute freedom where no one can hurt you with their words, where you no longer fear judgment or rejection, where your mind remains steady amid praise and criticism, gain and loss. Yet the world around you constantly challenges that freedom. Everyone wants to influence you, to shape you according to their beliefs, to pull you into the endless cycle of comparison and judgment. What will you do when the noise grows louder, when every glance and opinion begins to shake the faith within you? Buddhism teaches that true freedom does not come from controlling the world, but from releasing the world's power over your mind. Freedom does not arise when someone praises you, but when you no longer need to be praised. It does not come when others understand you, but when you are no longer hurt by misunderstanding. It is a state where the mind no longer depends on external conditions, a quiet strength amid the chaos of the world. The Buddha once said, "No one saves you but yourself. No one can, and no one may." His words were not about retreating from life, but about returning inward to find real strength. When people do not understand themselves, they are easily swept away by the opinions of the crowd. When they lack inner faith, they become fragile under the gaze of others. But once awakened, they realize the noise outside is only the wind, and the roots of peace lie deep within. That power cannot be borrowed or stolen. It can only be forgotten. And each person's task is to remember you do not need validation to have value. You do not need love to be whole. You do not need to prove yourself to be at peace. True freedom does not come from changing the world, but from understanding the one who observes it. When you recognize that all emotions, judgments, and fears are merely waves passing across the surface of the mind, you stop seeking peace outside yourself. You simply sit still and see the water was clear all along. And in that moment, you begin to live freely, not for anyone, not against anyone, but simply because you have come home to yourself. The Buddha taught peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. A simple sentence, yet the foundation of all inner freedom. People often mistake happiness as something that comes from others, from praise, approval, attention, or love. But when your joy depends on someone's actions, you hand over the key to your peace. And when they change, your balance is lost. That is the root of suffering. In truth, no one can make you happy forever, for everything external is impermanent. Today they may love you, tomorrow they may leave. Today they may praise you, tomorrow they may criticize. If your mind swings with every word, you will live chained to the emotions of others. Buddhism teaches that true happiness is not found in being loved, but in the ability to love yourself. When you nurture your own joy, practice gratitude, and cherish who you are, you no longer need to chase anyone to feel complete. The one who finds happiness within is like someone who lights their own fire on a cold night. They don't wait for others to bring warmth, for they have become the source of light. Self-love is not selfish, it is the foundation of compassion. Only when you care for your inner world can you love others without demands, give without calculation, and help without expecting return. Look back. How many times have you suffered simply because someone did not respond as you wished? How many times have you hurt yourself by forgetting that happiness does not live in another's words, but in the way you speak to yourself? Every time you wait for someone to make you happy, you leave your own center. But when you turn inward, find stillness, and appreciate the simple things, joy arises, naturally, unconditional, and whole. True happiness does not require perfect circumstances, only a soul that can see beauty in the present moment. When you drink a cup of tea without hurry, listen to the wind without judgment, feel your breath without thought, that is happiness. No dependence, no comparison, no excess. From this day forward, stop giving others the power to control your emotions. Don't seek someone to make you happy. Be the one who brings peace to yourself. When you are fulfilled within, no one can take your joy away. True happiness is not about having someone. It is about needing no one to still be able to smile. People fear loneliness because they have never truly faced themselves. They fear silence, fear the absence of company, fear the emptiness that comes when no one is watching. But in Buddhism, loneliness is not punishment, it is the gift of awakening. The Buddha taught, meditate live, purely, be quiet, do your work with mindfulness. This is not advice to withdraw from the world, but a call to return inward, to find your center amidst the world's noise. When you dare to be alone, no longer seeking to be filled from outside, you begin to hear the true voice of your heart. In that silence, suppressed thoughts begin to surface, and you see yourself more clearly, your fears, ambitions, wounds, and untapped potential. It is in those moments that seem most solitary that the seed of wisdom is planted. For only when there is no one left to please do you truly listen to what your soul needs. Loneliness does not destroy you. It strips away the masks you've worn too long in search of acceptance. When you dare to stay still with yourself, healing begins. You realize that no one can fill the emptiness within you, for that space can only be filled with awareness and self-love. When you can sit alone and not feel lacking, be silent and not feel afraid, receive no praise, yet still smile, that is when you have become strong. In Confucianism, the noble person understands heaven's will, living in harmony with life's natural order. In Taoism, non-action accomplishes everything, for one who flows with the Tao is aligned with nature's rhythm. Loneliness, too, is such a state, not emptiness but a return to the natural stillness of the mind. When you can sit in quiet and feel at ease, you are touching your truest essence, the part untouched by time or by others' opinions. Do not fill every empty space with noise or company. Let there be moments where only you, your breath, and silence exist. This is not isolation, it is illumination. From solitude, you learn independence. From independence, you find freedom. And from freedom, you give birth to inner strength, the kind that needs no validation, no audience, yet quietly transforms the way you walk through life. No chain binds the human spirit tighter than the need for approval. From childhood, we are taught to seek validation, good grades, to earn praise, good deeds, to earn love, polite words to please others. Slowly, we lose our authentic selves, living as mirrors reflecting others' expectations. Yet, the Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." In other words, the only approval you ever truly need is your own. When you live for praise, you die by criticism. When your joy depends on recognition, your pain deepens with neglect. Others' approval is a shadow here. One moment gone, the next. Self-respect is a flame. Once lit, it illuminates your whole life. The awakened do not live to be loved. They live to be loving. They do not speak to be heard. They speak because their words come from truth. When you know your worth, you need no reminder of it. The world will always hold people who disagree, misunderstand, or judge you through their narrow lens, but they do not live your life. They do not wake with your dreams, nor carry your heart's silent hopes. Why let their gaze decide your direction? In Confucianism, the noble person respects himself without arrogance, maintaining dignity without the need for validation. In Taoism, one follows the heart and rests in acceptance at peace with the outcome, because it flows from authenticity. Self-approval does not come from perfection, but from honesty with yourself. You do not need to be right for everyone, only true to your own conscience. Learn to look at yourself with compassion as you would a dear friend, doing their best each day. When you love yourself, praise becomes a passing breeze, and criticism another. Your heart stands firm like a mountain unmoved by the winds of opinion. Do not let your worth be defined by likes, compliments, or fleeting attention. All external validation is fragile. The approval born within is eternal. When you live truthfully, you need not persuade anyone. When you live authentically, you need not prove anything. And when you finally say enough to the noise outside, you will hear the voice that matters most. the quiet, unshakable voice of a free soul. None of us can escape rejection. Some are rejected in love, others in work, and some by the very dreams they once believed in most. But the Buddha taught, in the same fire gold is refined, while scrap metal is destroyed. Rejection is not the end. It is the test that distinguishes those who grow from those who give up. The weak let failure defeat them. The awakened let failure awaken them. We often see rejection as a denial of our worth, but in truth, it is merely a reminder that the path was not ours to walk. When one door closes, it may be because life is guiding us to another, one more fitting, more open, more aligned with its timing. The Buddha once said, "Of the three greatest things, love deeply, live lightly, and learn to let go at the right time." When you can release what isn't meant for you, you stop suffering over what's lost and instead feel gratitude for what it taught you. The truth is, those who no longer fear rejection are those no longer ruled by the fear of loss. They understand that their value does not depend on being accepted, but on their ability to remain steadfast and dignified in the face of challenge. Every rejection is a chance to rebuild inner strength. If someone doesn't choose you, it's not proof that you aren't good enough. It's proof that they couldn't see your true worth. In Confucianism, the noble person blames neither heaven nor others, but reflects inward and continues to rise. In Taoism, gain and loss follow nature, meaning whether accepted or rejected, the heart stays calm, knowing that all things unfold according to their own timing and cause. And in Buddhism, every event is dependent origination. It comes to teach you a lesson and leaves when that lesson is complete. Don't let rejection make you doubt your worth. When you understand, you see that every rejection made you stronger, humbler, and wiser. Sometimes a door closes only, so you can learn to open the door within yourself. And when you open that inner door, you realize no one can truly reject you. They only redirect you to meet the higher version of who you're meant to become. No burden drains the human spirit more than the fear of what others think of me. We walk carefully, speak cautiously, and live within the limits of others' opinions until we lose our naturalness and joy. But the Buddha taught, do not look for faults in others. Look to the things you have done or left undone. That teaching is a compass for a free life. Only when you stop viewing yourself through others' eyes can you begin to see yourself as you truly are. The fear of judgment is the disease of an unawakened ego. We crave love, praise, and approval, and in doing so, we imprison ourselves in the eyes of others. Each criticism makes us shrink. Each compliment makes us swell. And so our emotions are ruled by the world outside. But the truth is, others' opinions reflect their own minds, not your value. Those who judge you today may praise you tomorrow. Those who praise you today may forget you the next. Why be shaken by winds that constantly change direction? In Buddhism, there is a concept called the unmoved mind, a state of stillness amid praise and blame, gain and loss. The one who achieves it is not unfeeling, but wise enough to know that the world's voices cannot disturb a soul that truly knows itself. In Taoism, it is said, the person follows the way, not reputation. When your mind stands firm like a mountain, others' words are only wind passing by. Ask yourself, how many dreams have you abandoned for fear of ridicule? How many times have you hidden your true self to avoid judgment? Every time you live for others' approval, you step away from your soul. But when you dare to live honestly, speak truthfully, and act according to your values, you begin to live authentically. The wise do not flee public opinion. They simply don't let it lead their lives. Freedom begins when you stop asking, what do they think of me? And start asking, what do I think of myself? When your actions arise from wisdom and kindness, there is no reason to fear judgment. The truth is, people don't think about you nearly as much as you imagine. They are too busy with their own worries. Don't let the fear of others' eyes dim your inner light. Live fully uprightly and freely. For only when you are no longer bound by the world's voices can you finally hear your own. And that is the voice that will lead you to true peace. Many people spend their entire lives trying to please others, saying what they don't mean, doing what feels wrong, living within the expectations of society, family, or friends. They believe that if they're kind enough, patient enough, or try hard enough, everyone will love them in the end. But the truth is, the more you try to please everyone, the more you lose yourself. The Buddha taught, one word of peace is worth more than 1,000 empty words. That peace does not come from pleasing everyone, it comes from living in truth with yourself. When you live only to make others happy, you become a slave to their expectations. Each time someone disapproves you, feel guilty. Each time someone is disappointed, you feel wrong. Gradually, your boundaries fade, and you can no longer tell the difference between kindness and compliance. The awakened know that helping others is compassion, but sacrificing your peace for approval is ignorance. Kindness is not about being loved, it is about being love itself. And if a good action disturbs your heart, it is no longer good. Confucianism teaches, the noble person seeks harmony, but not conformity. You can live in harmony with others without dissolving into them. You can be kind, empathetic, and understanding, yet still say no with grace. Boundaries protect your energy so that your love can last longer. A heart that constantly tries to please everyone quickly runs empty because it gives from fear, not from freedom. Remember, even the Buddha, whose compassion was boundless, could not please everyone. If an enlightened being could be misunderstood, why should you expect universal approval? Stop seeking consensus, for truth does not require a crowd to be valid. As long as your mind is pure, your words kind, and your actions sincere, that is enough. Peace is the most precious wealth of life, and you owe it to no one to trade it for popularity. When you place peace above praise, you begin to live in true freedom. Help others with love, but also help yourself with honesty. For the one who protects their inner calm can share peace with the world. And when you stop trying to please everyone, you discover the most miraculous feeling of all being at peace with yourself. One of the deepest roots of suffering is the desire to control what does not belong to us: people, circumstances, outcomes, even the flow of time. We want others to behave as we wish, events to follow our plans, life to bend to our will. But the Buddha taught, rule your mind, or it will rule you. Within that single sentence lies the entire secret of peace. For only when we stop trying to control the outer world can we truly master the inner one. The truth is, you cannot force others to change. You cannot make them understand love or act as you expect. Everyone acts from their own awareness and karma. Trying to control others only exhausts you. It is like gripping sand. The tighter you hold, the faster it slips away. Instead of pouring energy into what lies beyond reach, return to the one thing you can truly govern yourself. Self-control does not mean rigidity. It means developing the awareness to observe your reactions, master your emotions, and choose your responses consciously. You cannot choose every event that happens, but you can always choose how you respond to it. When others are angry, you can remain calm. When plans collapse, you can adjust your attitude. When you are misunderstood, you can choose silence over argument. These small choices create great freedom. In Confucianism, rectifying the mind is the first step before cultivating the self, managing the family, governing the nation, and bringing peace to the world. It means to rule the world, one must first rule the self. In Taoism, one who flows with nature is not passive, but wise enough to know their limits and not resist universal law. In Buddhism, the wise know that nothing but the mind needs control. When the mind is still, all things are still. When the mind is chaotic, all things appear chaotic. Think about it. How light would you feel if you stopped trying to fix others or change what's beyond your reach? When you focus on mastering your thoughts, words, and actions, you become steadier, calmer, and wiser. You begin to realize that peace does not come from everything going your way, but from keeping your heart steady when it doesn't. True freedom is not controlling the world, but mastering how you walk through it. When you govern yourself, no emotion, person, or circumstance can rule over you. And from that moment, you don't just live peacefully, you live in the full power of your own mind. One of the greatest illusions that exhausts the human mind is the belief that others are constantly watching and judging us. We walk in fear of being seen, speak in fear of being mocked, live our way in fear of being discussed. Yet the simple truth is no one thinks about us as much as we imagine. Everyone is immersed in their own world, busy thinking, busy surviving, busy confronting their fears and inner conflicts. When you truly realize this, a great weight lifts off your heart, for there is no longer any reason to live under the imaginary gaze of others. The Buddha taught, your work is to discover your own world, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it. This teaching reminds us, your purpose is not to make others understand or love you, but to understand and live truthfully as yourself. Every life is its own journey, different in karma, awareness, and path. Worrying about others is wasting the precious time meant for your own growth. When you fear judgment, ask yourself, have you ever truly spent that much time judging someone else? The answer is usually no, because you too are busy with your own life. The same is true for others. They do not think of you as often as you think, for they are preoccupied with work, with money, with relationships, with uncertain futures. Realizing this not only frees you, it also cultivates compassion. When you understand that everyone is fighting their own silent battles, you become more forgiving, more understanding, and less harsh toward the world. In Confucianism, the noble person does not fuss over others' trivialities, but focuses on self-cultivation, improving oneself before trying to improve the world. In Taoism, man follows the earth follows heaven follows the Tao, and the Tao follows what is natural. Everything flows in its own rhythm, no forcing, no comparison. And in Buddhism, the enlightened seek no external validation, knowing that every opinion merely reflects the consciousness of the one who speaks. When you stop caring about outside eyes, you create a new space within a space for creativity, freedom, and authenticity. You begin to live as yourself, to speak what you believe, to choose your own path, even if no one agrees. And strangely, when you no longer need others to see your worth, that is when they start to feel your true power. Life is short, and time is limited. Don't waste it living in someone else's mind. They're busy living their own lives, while you must live yours fully. Once you see this truth, the burden of judgment dissolves, and you walk lighter, not to be admired, but to live honestly with your own soul. Comparison is one of the deepest roots of suffering. When you see others having more, doing better, or appearing happier, you begin to feel lacking. The mind stirs, the heart grows restless. But the Buddha taught health is the greatest gift, contentment, the greatest wealth. This reminds us that happiness does not come from having more than others, but from appreciating what we already have. When you compare, you look outward. When you feel content, you return inward. And it is only there that true peace exists. Comparison traps the mind in a race without finish. You buy something, someone has something better. You achieve something, someone achieves it faster. And so you live in an endless cycle of more and less fleeting joy and lasting dissatisfaction. Yet the truth is, no two lives follow the same path. Each person carries their own karma, timing, and pace. A flower blooms in its own season, not to compete, but simply to fulfill its nature. Buddhism teaches that envy, rivalry, and craving are expressions of greed, tham, one of the three poisons that cloud the mind. When you release the habit of comparison, the mind clears and wisdom settles. You realize you don't need to outshine anyone to have worth. You only need to surpass the person you were yesterday. Every small step on the path of awareness is precious, for it proves you are still walking forward. In Confucianism, the noble person values virtue above gain. They do not look up to compete, but look within to improve. In Taoism, he who knows contentment is truly rich. And in Buddhism, the wise understand that all external things are impermanent. Only dwelling fully in the present brings lasting peace. When you live with gratitude, you begin to see the beauty in your own life, simple yet complete. The world is not short of talented people. It is short of peaceful ones. The more deeply one understands life, the less one compares. They see others' success and feel joy, knowing that happiness is not a limited pie, but a flame that can light others without losing its own glow. Each person shines in their own way, and your light is never dimmed by another's. So let go of the world's measuring sticks. Don't let your worth depend on anyone else's achievements. Each morning simply ask, am I living true to my own heart? If the answer is yes, you've already won, because true happiness is not about standing higher than others, but standing firmly on the path that is truly yours. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, praised, and acknowledged, choosing to turn inward and focus on inner growth is an act of great courage. True growth is never loud. It has no fireworks, no applause, no spotlight. It happens in silence when you face yourself, your weaknesses, your wounds, your fears, and the parts of you still waiting to heal. The Buddha taught, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. When your mind turns outward seeking approval, you will always be shaken. But when your mind turns inward, to understand, to release, to awaken, you begin to be free. The approval of others is only a fleeting round of applause. Today they praise, tomorrow they may forget. The outer world changes, human hearts shift, but inner peace is the one treasure no one can take away. When you learn to nurture your inner world, you stop living to be loved and start living to become worthy of love. You no longer strive to prove, you simply live to embody. And when you stop needing to be seen, your light naturally becomes visible. In Confucianism, the noble person seeks within himself, not from others. In Taoism, one follows nature not for fame or profit, but for harmony with the way. And in Buddhism, the path to enlightenment is the path of self-awareness and self-transformation. Each day that you are a little less angry, a little less envious, a little less afraid, you are moving closer to true freedom. Do not become a prisoner of praise. When you need validation to feel worthy, you hand over the power to define yourself. Let your only standards be the peace of your mind and the honesty of your heart. You may lose a few people when you stop living to please them, but you will rediscover yourself, the self you once abandoned in the noise of applause. Inner growth is not an easy path, but it is the only one that leads to lasting happiness. When your mind is steady, circumstances cannot confuse you. When your wisdom shines, praise and blame cannot blind you. And when your heart is full, you no longer need anyone to complete you. In the end, remember, life does not require you to be recognized. It only asks that you awaken. When you know who you are, where you are going, and how you are living, every word of praise or criticism becomes merely an echo. Choose to grow from within rather than in the eyes of others. For when your inner world blossoms, you need no validation, because the entire universe will bow quietly in return.